All right. Good evening, everyone on the East Coast. Good afternoon on the West Coast. I am your host, Brandon Choi, host and co-creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited. And as you know, we do have a doubleheader today with the shows that we have available. So give me one moment while I introduce our guest for tonight. 1 second. So I would like to introduce the showrunner of the con known as Buckeye Comic Con. I want to introduce Jeff Harper. Give me 1 second while I bring him on. What's going on, Jeff?
Hi, how are you?
Good, good, good. So first and foremost, thanks for coming on the show and spending some time in talking about the show. First off, how are you doing? How are things? I know things have with what we have with social distancing and all of that stuff. We'll get into that, and how that's like impacted the industry. I'm very curious, to get your thoughts on it. How have you been?
Well, I'm not even sure if the show Sunday will be able to be held. We're still waiting for some announcements from the governor.
Okay.
But I normally do about 6, 7 shows a year, and mine aren't huge. Mine aren't the big mega cons. Mine are the smaller, local, comic centric type shows. Heavy on comic books and those kind of collectibles, Silver Age, Golden Age. Um, we we were the first ones in Ohio to hold True Comic Con when kind of in July when we were first able to. I had to cancel a couple, but we came up with a system of we do temperature checks. We take temperatures, anybody 100.4 above. We take the vendors when they come in the door, they can't even set up unless unless their temperature is good. And then, of course, we do the people coming through the door. We ask for social distancing. We make sure all of the vendors have hand sanitizer at every booth. And then, of course, we have it. In July, we had to limit, here in Ohio, we had to limit the number of the people through. We could only have 100 people in the room at a time. So that made it, we had some people walk away that wanted to come in because they didn't know how long they were going to have to wait. And then, but in October, we were able to open it up where we were allowed to have as many people in the room as we wanted. But now it may go back to what it was. I'm not even sure what's going to happen yet. He's supposed to make an announcement Thursday, like I said. It's all up in the air. So it's discouraging. You get some vendors that don't want to show because of it, but then others want the opportunity to make some money. It's all over the board. So
Absolutely, and the con has been around for quite some time. So can you speak to that? At least under normal circumstances, what?
Well, I've been running the Buckeye show, but it's 25 years this year.
Yes.
So and I don't want to pound my own drum or whatever, but I've been doing shows in Ohio longer than anybody. Back in the day, back in the 90s, we did the big shows where we flew guests in. We had the big, flew guests in from out of the country and out of the state and everything. And then I work a full-time job, and I just couldn't see that. Maybe I should have continued because that's the norm. That became the norm. But we found it better to do the smaller shows and concentrate on local artists. And it's done us very well for the last 10 or 15 years. Reducing the size and the strain and the stress on me. But, we're getting just as many, if not more people in some cases, in normal circumstances. So.
Definitely, and just in talking about like how cons have evolved, just as you said in terms of what your focus is, in terms of like your contemporaries with a lot of the shows that are out there, a lot of shows, I've noticed it over the years that they focused, specifically on comics, and then just by virtue of I guess trying to, I guess you could say, keeping up with the Joneses, so to speak, of what they're seeing with their contemporaries, they sometimes transition into doing some media capacity. Is that something that you've ever like considered, or even contemplated, or is it just mostly about just focusing on what you have been doing that has been lasting this long?
Well, that's just it. I feel that because I don't try to be everything to everybody,
Yeah.
maybe we don't get the thousands of people, the tens of thousands, all of that. But we don't try to be everything to everybody. I want to do one thing and do one thing well. Now, I have a couple shows that we also, besides, the comics are the main focus, but then we also add in the collectible toys because I see that, there's a lot of cross in the toys and the action figures and a lot of that. So, some of the dealers, but I would say every one of our shows is probably 75% comics and 25% other media. I don't get other media guests. I do get writers. We have some writers that write fantasy books and science fiction books and pulp type stuff, but most of them are local comic book artists or independent artists and creators trying to do their own thing. I was going to put on a pulp show this year. I'm an older guy, if you can't tell, and I like a lot of the older stuff, but of course that got squashed. But we're going to try it again next year, and we'll have pulp writers there, and we'll have it'll concentrate on the old stuff. I get a lot of dealers that won't do some of the big shows because people come to the show knowing that they're going to find golden age, they're going to find key silver age books. There'll be a lot of modern age stuff there too, but it seems like I've got a core crowd that I've got one dealer that came and set up in the early 90s as a kid with his dad, and now he's doing my shows as a vendor, 20 something years later. And I kind of think that's cool. You don't see that out there that often. So
Awesome. And I was going to say, with the artists that you have, do you find that in terms of what you look for to fill out what you make available for your attendees at your show, do you find that just like you were saying with the artists that you have, that you try to make a focus for those up and coming artists, and those perhaps independent artists that are not a part of like the major houses, or do you try to just mix it up just with a mixture of both?
I try to a little mixture of both. I don't try to get, with the size of our shows, I don't try to get any of the mainstream artists. I just I don't. Most of the creators, at least in my area, know who I am. They contact me, or they see that I'm putting on several shows in Ohio. They contact me, and they enjoy it. They reach out to some people. Some of these big shows, they have to pay to set up exorbitant fees, and a lot of times they don't make that back. Especially when you're trying to start off, publish a book, or create something, you just don't have a lot of money to spend and gamble. So they find it much more lucrative to set up at our shows, and they walk away with some money and some interest. That's what they want. So I hope I answered your question. So
Yeah, you did. And I was gonna say, additionally, kind of just to jump off of that, I know before we were talking about how some of your contemporaries, and you probably can speak to this based on, because I'm sure many of you, probably touch base with each other about, oh, I'm doing this in my show. What do you think you're going to do in yours? That type of thing. And I know, just like we were saying before, that many of your contemporaries probably feel the need to entertain doing maybe a lot of like major artists and major guests. However, what I'm finding more and more, not just with this, but in other mediums as well, is because of the current environment, it's kind of, I guess you could say, balanced out the playing field in terms of what you're seeing, and a lot of these events are now pivoting and reevaluating, just like you were talking about with a lot of those, fees that they have to contend with bringing in guests, whether it's, flying them in, getting them housed, that type of thing, that they're making a pivot and really reevaluating where a lot of those resources are going and making the decision to, keep certain things, but actually throw out a lot of things and being way more focused on the baseline things that you would see at a con with comics and artists and so forth. So is that one thing that you have come across, like, perhaps in discussions with a lot of the contemporaries, that you have that are also showrunners?
Well, I'll be honest with you, Brandon. I kind of do my own thing. I've been doing it. I was doing it
Okay.
long before everybody else is out there. So
Gotcha.
I don't even talk about this with, you know, I don't even talk with contemporaries. I watch and I see what's going on, and I just stick to my guns and I do what I do. Maybe it's right, maybe it's wrong, but it's worked. Like the Buckeye Show, 25 years, but we've been doing shows. I say we. It's not me and my mouse. It's my wife and I. We've been doing it for 29 years, and uh, you there's a lot of businesses that haven't been in business. They haven't lasted 29 years. So, do I need to do what other people are doing? No, I do what I do. It's and it works. I don't know why. It just works. We haven't seen. We did see a drop off in attendances back in probably 2010. I don't know. Whenever the big shows they started to be so many big shows everywhere. You know, um, we saw maybe a drop in attendance, but then we get so many people that come in and they say, "Well, I paid $30 or $40 to go to that show, and there weren't hardly any comic books there." And so they quit going. They tell us they quit going to those, and they spend $5 or $10 a mine, and they go out with stacks of comic books. And I'm a reader. I'm not one that just buys them. I read everything, and that makes me happy that they're finding what they want or what they want to get and what they like to read. So like I said, I don't talk to really anybody else that does this. I kind of I watch the internet, I see what's going on, and I just try to focus on what I do, and that's it.
Gotcha. And with that being said, you were talking about, you're very much going down to the wire, like right now, even as we speak, in terms of, preparing for the this year's show. Can you speak to one of the things about, this year's show that you're super excited about that perhaps, wasn't available in previous editions that you've had thus far?
This coming show,
Yeah, potentially, yeah.
I've got a new artist there that has never been in Columbus before. I think he's an up and comer. His name is Richard Jones III. Uh, he works with another creator out of Ohio called Adams Fields, and I just see him. I just a lot of potential there. a lot of potential, and I don't know, I'm just hope that I get to hold it. that's where I'm at right now. You plan and you spend all this money, and you spend the money in advertising and everything, and all of a sudden maybe it's going to be all for naught. That's what happened to me in March. It feels like deja vu all over again. Where you've got something scheduled and then they shut you down. So.
Gotcha. And I mean, from what I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, is because I didn't necessarily have a chance, at least for what's happening there for Ohio. Like, in terms of what I'm assuming, based on what you're telling me, that it is at a certain level that would potentially get in the way of it being held. I thought you guys were at a lower level, but perhaps you guys are at a higher.
It's climbing.
Gotcha.
It's climbing every day. We have been one of the lower affected states, but I think Friday there was 7,100 cases. Then yesterday, I heard Sunday night, there was 7,900. So it's going up exponentially, and
gotcha.
All I can say is I'm glad I have a full-time job that that I'm considered essential, I guess, because we keep on going. So.
Indeed. Well, Jeff, I want to thank you so much. Thank you for squeezing in some time. I know you were just talking about doing the 9 to 5 and still squeezing in some time to be a part of the show. Before I let you go, can you tell folks where they can find you?
Okay, yeah, I'm on Harper Comics on Facebook. It's my main Facebook page is Harper Comics. And then each show that I have has its own Facebook page. So like the Buckeye Comic Con has its own Facebook page. And then we've got the Cleveland Comic and Nostalgia Fest has its own page, so on and so forth. And you can find those links on the regular Harper Comics. And then I have a website. It's harpercomics.com. Simple as that. Been the same for years. And they can find all the shows listed there and all the information where it's at. It's nothing fancy or flashy or anything. I keep it simple, and you can find the information. I really appreciate you reaching out to me. So sometimes I'm I'm sure I'm thought of by some of these big promoters as just a little guy, but the little guy endures sometimes. And you don't see the big shows going right now. So I appreciate it very much, Brandon.
Absolutely. So there you guys have it. Thanks so much for those of you that are watching tonight. I'm your host, Brandon Troy, host and co-creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited. You can find us here on Facebook, which you are streaming now. However, we do encore episodes of our live streams on YouTube. You can also find us on Twitter at Move and Shake UNLTD, on Instagram at Movers Shakers Unlimited, and of course you can find me, Brandon Troy ENT, on Twitter, and Brandon Troy _ENT on Instagram. Thanks so much for watching. Be safe out there, and see you soon. Bye.